Good morning, Internet. If you're anything like me, you probably also go crazy every time we get a new One Piece bounty, which is why I'm always very excited when I remember that there are actually so many awesome characters in the story who somehow still haven't had their bounty revealed. I mean, what's the bounty of Dragon, the most wanted man in the world, or Rox, the strongest pirate of the last 100 years, and what about someone like Joy Boy, the man who almost single-handedly took down the entire world government? Today, I'm actually gonna try and calculate the potential worth of these 16 One Piece legends that somehow still don't have an official bounty, all with my stuffy nose here. Starting with Rox D. Xebec, who I'm pretty sure is one of my favorite characters, even though we still basically know almost nothing about him. Now, this fearsome pirate here was Gol D. Roger's greatest rival and led the assault on God Valley. He attacked both the Celestial Dragons there in an attempt to steal great treasures, aka devil fruits, from them, and to do so, he assembled a terrible crew, terrible in the sense of how powerful they were, made up of some of the biggest pirates in the entire One Piece world. And it does kind of seem like only through his next level power and or charisma was he really able to bring the likes of Big Mom, Kaido, and Whitebeard all together under one single flag. Remember that it took the combined efforts of both Gold Roger and Monkey D. Garp in order to defeat him at God Valley and stop him from achieving his goal of becoming the king of the world, something that keeps blowing my mind given how strong these two characters are. Now, back in chapter 957, it was stated by the Marines that Roger's bounty was 5,564,000,000 berries and Whitebeard's was 5,046,000,000 berries. According to this guy here called Brand New, these are the two highest bounties in all of pirating history, but for attacking the Celestial Dragons directly and being the captain of a crew of absolute monsters, I'm gonna guess that Rox D. Xebec still would have a bounty of an even 5 billion berries at least. I honestly think that it could even be higher. Not that the government would be publicizing that anytime soon, since they seem very hell-bent on erasing this man from history entirely, so maybe his bounty doesn't even exist anymore officially. Also, I want to throw out the question, do you think that anyone on this list can actually surpass this insane bounty, beating the likes of even Roger and Whitebeard? Like, for example, what about one of Rox's other followers? We're talking about Shiki the Golden Lion, a character that surprisingly is canon. I mean, you might only know him from the One Piece movie Strong World, but Oda has confirmed that he is a real canon character through chapter 0, as well as in the God Valley flashback when he's officially shown in the manga on Rox's crew in chapter 1096, very recently. Now, before Luffy led his mass breakout of prisoners from Impel Down, Shiki was actually also famous as the only pirate in history to ever escape the prison. He's actually said to have power that rivals the former Yonko, Big Mom, and Kaido, and was even able to hold his own against Roger, at least when divine intervention didn't cause half of his fleet to be sunk in the process. What I'm trying to tell you is this guy was basically Yonko level. Is basically Yonko level? I'm curious if we're gonna see him in the story, but since Big Mom's bounty was 4,388,000,000 and Kaido's 4,611,000,000, it does make sense to me to have Shiki's right up there with his former crewmates at 4.5 billion while he was still roaming the seas, though I guess he should still have a bounty on his head right now. And if he ever stopped laying low and actually came back to piracy other than these non-canon movie appearances, then he would absolutely still be a huge threat in the new world, and I personally really hope it happens in the manga. But speaking of Shiki and Rox's rival Gol D. Roger, even though his is the highest bounty that we've ever seen in the series so far, we still don't know the bounties of any of his other crewmates, well, except Shanks and Buggy, but you know, that's different. And I find that especially weird given how much screen time his first mate, Rayleigh, has gotten to this point as well. And this bounty I actually needed kind of like yesterday because low-key, I think that Rayleigh might just be my favorite character in all of One Piece, just for the vibes alone. I don't know, there's something about a super strong old guy with like charisma and the power to back it up, you know? I mean, I vibe with this dude. Rayleigh usually lays low coding ships on Sabaody Archipelago, but meanwhile, he's been training up the next generation's Pirate King by teaching Luffy all about hockey. And even in his old age, this man is no slouch. He can casually clash with the likes of Kizaru and can make even a Yonko like Blackbeard back down on just his reputation alone. Now here's my thought process for his bounty. Given that Rayleigh is kind of like the Zoro of his crew and Zoro's bounty is of 1,111,000,000, which is roughly under half of Luffy's current bounty of 3 billion, I think somewhere around 2.7 billion sounds about right for the right-hand man of the former Pirate King, but let me know if you think it's more. I also want to say that it's kind of tempting to actually give Rayleigh and actually some other characters on this list some bounties that incorporate some Japanese wordplay or Easter eggs, like how Zoro's has so many ones, probably because he's aiming to be the #1 swordsman, or how Sanji's bounty of 1,032,000,000 incorporates his March 2nd birth date. But unfortunately, I'm just not quite working with the same kind of galaxy brain that Oda Sensei has, so for now, what about the left-hand man of the former Pirate King? This guy right here is named Scopper Gaban. Get it? Gold Roger, Silver's Rayleigh, Scopper Gaban. Okay, that's pretty metal, I would say. Now, the thing is, other than a few flashback appearances, we know virtually nothing about Scopper Gaban, like even if he's alive or not. However, that doesn't stop me from speculating that just about every silhouetted character in the series might be secretly him. This mysterious man meeting with Crocus, that's gotta be Scopper Gaban. Or the mysterious man waiting for the Straw Hats on Elbaf, of course that is gonna be Scopper Gaban. But just one more thing of the many things we don't know about him is his bounty. But again, since he is the third in command of the Roger Pirates, I think it'll be fun to give them a little bit of a Zoro-Sanji dynamic and have Scopper's bounty just below Rayleigh's at 2.6 billion berries. Let me just say this might not be the last time that we see a bit of a disparity like that between the second and third in command of a Yonko crew, and as much as I'm sure that you'd want to hear me rattle on about obscure Roger Pirates like Seagull Guns Nosdawn, what a base name, and Malay Pine, again, also base name, I've got even less to go on with these guys than I do with Scopper Gaban, so how about instead we now turn it over to the subordinates of yet another famed pirate, Red Hair Shanks. Namely, I want to talk about his first mate, Ben Beckman, proud owner of the highest IQ in the entire East Blue, however they figured that one out. Now this very hardened pirate here has enough of a reputation that he can make Kizaru back down by just pointing a gun at him. Does he have like sea stone bullets? Can you infuse hockey into a gun? I mean, apparently it must be something like that if he can actually make a Logia Fruit user run away with his tail between his legs just by pointing that at him. And actually, another thing that makes Logia Fruit users quake in their boots is today's sponsor, the Ohara Patreon, where you can actually enjoy tons of bonus content like downloadable art assets, early thoughts on One Piece chapters, and bonus behind the scenes podcasts with me and some other members of the team here. Go check it out, but now back to Beck. To me, it doesn't really quite make sense for his bounty to be a lot higher than the former Pirate King's crewmates, but he should be plenty higher than Luffy's Yonko commander, so they still have room to grow before the end of the series. And with all of that in mind, I'm gonna assign Ben Beckman a bounty of 2.3 billion berries currently. And if you think that that's not enough, that's over twice as high as Zoro's current bounty, but it's just a little bit above the next Yonko commander in Shanks' crew, Lucky Roux, my boy. Now, don't let this chef size fool you. It is actually said that Lucky Roux is the fastest character in the series with the ability to shoot faster than his own shadow, which, by the way, is a Lucky Luke reference, which I guess makes sense where Oda came up with his name. Huh, okay. Lucky Roux was the first person to actually kill another character on screen during the Red Hair Pirate skirmish with the Mountain Bandits in chapter 1 of the story. Let me say, this man here is clearly out for some blood as much as he's out for some giant turkey legs. Once again, following the trend of the third in command being just below the second, I think it would be fair giving Lucky Roux here a bounty of roughly around 2.2 billion berries, if you're on board with that. And also, I quickly want to move on to the fourth significant member of the Red Hair Pirates. Once again, we'll be skipping the less interesting characters like Bonk Punch and Building Snake. Those names are not quite as cool, and instead we'll focus on one of the most absentee fathers of all time in anime, Yasopp, the red-haired pirate sniper, whose epithet is the Chaser. Why is that? I mean, who knows? I hope it's not a bad reason. I guess because his bullets chase you right into an early grave, much like he did when he one-shot Bartolomeo and his entire ship, the pretty nicely named Going Luffy Senpai. But other than just being an excellent shot and a not so excellent dad to Usopp, we don't really know a ton about Yasopp quite yet either, but we do know enough to give him a bounty of exactly 2 billion berries, which he's probably much more proud of than Usopp is of his current bounty. But now I think it's time to move over to one of Wano's greatest warriors, who after the Wano arc has gotten a little bit forgotten and was a bestie to both Roger and Whitebeard. I'm talking about my man Kozuki Oden here, who was actually well respected by both pirates who boasted the world's highest ever bounties recorded so far. Sorry, my camera died here. I took the time to make me a fresh cup of tea. But yeah, anyways, where were we? This guy. If you ask me, there's just no bigger chat in the entire series of One Piece. This guy was stealing wives left and right, and while Whitebeard called everybody on his crew his son, he referred to Oden as his brother, seeing them as closer to equals. Not only that, but Oden is one of the few characters in the One Piece verse capable of actually dealing damage to the nearly invincible Kaido. However, when assigning Oden a bounty, I just can't take raw strength or amazing dance skills into account, because Oden also has one very special skill that makes him especially dangerous to the world governments. That's because Oden can actually read the poneglyphs, where the Kozuki clan were the ones who initially created them in the first place. And that's because I'm gonna give Kozuki Oden a very high bounty of 2.5 billion berries. Now, of course, Oden isn't the only person related to Whitebeard whose bounty we still don't know. There are plenty of other division commanders to talk about as well, but first, what about someone who's literally related to Whitebeard? We're talking about his son or clone, maybe? Edward Weevil. Now, this former warlord of the sea is reported to be the son of Whitebeard, and he does honestly have the strength to back it up. Since he's constantly accompanied by Buckingham Stussy, his mother, who's a cloning expert and a former member of Mads, though, it's likely that he is actually a cloning experiment gone wrong made from Whitebeard's DNA. At the same time, Stussy was also on Rox's crew, and we kind of saw them flirting a little bit, so who knows? I really kind of don't know how I feel about this guy, but Oda has definitely got some plans for him, because I don't think he made Weevil a warlord just for the lulz here. Or maybe he did, I don't know. We actually do have a bounty from before when Weevil was made a warlord, which was 480 million berries, the highest bounty any pirate ever had before they were named a warlord. However, now that the warlord system has been abolished and his bounty has been unfrozen, he's gonna be due for a big increase, especially if he escapes imprisonment from Impel Down. Now, since this guy clearly doesn't really have the smarts and strategic planning to back up his own destructive force, let's say that 849 million berries for this powerhouse would seem somewhat appropriate. Now, of course, if he ends up becoming a member of, say, Cross Guild after his breakout, this could easily go above 1 billion. But moving on, for our next few bounties, I want to quickly talk about Whitebeard's former division commanders, starting with Diamond Jozu, my shining bling bling boy right here. Now, what is not known about this guy right now is whether this dude is even still alive right now after the 2-year time skip and the war that occurred between the Blackbeard pirates and the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates. What is for sure here, though, is that Jozu is the hardest guy in One Piece, literally. Okay, I could have phrased that maybe a little bit better. Let me be more specific. Diamond is one of the hardest materials on Earth, which means that his devil fruit is probably the single most defensive fruit in existence so far. Also, let me mention, if he can back that up with Armament Haki on top as well, which, I mean, I imagine as a Yonko commander you'll be able to do, Jozu would be a real force to be reckoned with. Basically, a living tank. Let's say at least 800 million for the former 3rd Division commander, which is right above Vista of the Flower Swords, the former 5th Division commander. And if you're wondering why I just skipped the 4th Division, well, it's not a mistake. The 4th Division commander was actually a guy named Thatch, who you might remember was murdered by Blackbeard so that he could steal the Darkness Fruit, and I mean, not that anything big or major happened as a result of that. No. As for Vista, he's the swordsman of Whitebeard's crew and is notable enough to even be able to clash with Mihawk during the Marineford War. So I'll put him just a little bit below Jozu at 700 million berries. Now, I do know what a few of you are thinking. As Yonko commanders, you probably might expect these guys to be over 1 billion berries, but with them missing in action for so long after the Marineford War and no longer being a part of any Yonko crew, I just don't really think it makes sense for them at this point in the story. Maybe they were there and got downgraded, but I don't know, like, let me know. I feel like that would be too high. Somebody who totally does deserve a bounty over 1 billion berries, though, is our next pirate from the crew that absolutely destroyed the Whitebeard pirates. I'm talking about my chain-smoking guy who looks like he would get along fairly well with Smoker before he turned on the Marines. Shiryu of the Rain, who is the captain of Blackbeard's second ship and was the former jailer of Impel Down, one who treated the prisoners with such violence, apparently, that he ended up being thrown into the very same prison, which, let's be real, must be really bad given how the world government looks down on pirates and treats people in general. Now, of course, he also helped a ton of prisoners break out of Impel Down, something that he does share with another character coming up on this list as well. Since the time skip, he has become even more dangerous now that he's eaten Absalom's invisibility fruit. And since he's not only the second in command of a Yonko crew, or is he the third behind Jesus Burgess? I'm not sure. I'm gonna say second or third, but he also aided in the mass breakout of Impel Down. I'm going to be giving Shiryu here a bounty of 1.9 billion berries, which should give Zoro some more room to grow to a point where his bounty is higher than his counterpart on Blackbeard's crew. It turns out there are actually a ton of Blackbeard pirates that we don't have current bounties for right now. I mean, many of the crew members, such as Lafitte, had their bounties revealed in Viva cards, but they haven't been updated in, say, a long time. But you know, I think instead of me going through all 10 Titanic captains and giving them all new and improved bounties, I'll just let Oda and Mr. Brand New from the Marines handle those ones. For now, on the Blackbeard crew, I will settle for the coldest character of all of One Piece, Kuzan. But now I think about it, Kuzan is really, I think, absolutely in my top 5 favorite characters as well. Not only is this really nice guy a Yonko commander now, he was also a former Marine admiral. He fought evenly with the Kainu, even though his devil fruit was really ill-matched. Wow, that was hard to say. He fought him for 10 days straight and then permanently changed the entire ecosystem of the island of Punk Hazard while doing so as well. On Beehive Island, he was then even able to incapacitate his former mentor Monkey D. Garp, the hero of the Marine. Also, I mean, did anyone else just lose it as much as I did when Garp and Kuzan did the ultimate dab up in the impact frame in that anime? I mean, there is literally no one cooler than this guy right here. And when figuring out Kuzan's bounty, I kind of have to consider not only his position on Blackbeard's crew, but the danger that he can pose to the world governments. Because it kind of hit me that as a former admiral, Kuzan was probably knowledgeable about a ton of really high Marine secrets and has a lot of inside information on their strategies and their military forces as well. And thanks to his betrayal of the world government and his insane power that allowed him to freeze all of the Blackbeard pirates at once and totally just lay waste to Big Mom's Island to kidnap Pudding, I'm gonna give Kuzan here a bounty of 3.5 billion berries, higher even than Luffy's, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Let me know if you disagree in the comments. So, who could possibly beat a massive bounty like that one? Well, how about a group that poses the most danger to the world government in the entire One Piece world, more than any pirates, the Revolutionary Army, starting with Emporio Ivankov. Now, as one of the executives of the Revolutionary Army, Ivankov is one of the biggest thorns in the world government side. They did try to throw this queen of the Okama Kingdom into prison, but that didn't go so well when Ivankov helped with the mass breakout that Shiryu was also a part of. Now, to be quite honest with you, I don't want to give Ivankov a higher bounty than the Revolutionary's Chief of Staff Sabo, who currently only has a shockingly low bounty of 602 million berries, which seems kind of wrong. I mean, I do have a feeling that that will be going up really soon once Imo realizes that he escaped the destruction of Lulusia and in general with everything he saw during the Reverie. But for now, I guess I'll just have to put Ivankov's bounty right around the other main 4 executives at an even 500 million berries. But don't worry, of course, I also have to talk about the leader of the Revolutionary Army, the most wanted man in the entire world, Monkey D. Dragon. He is Luffy's father, as you well know, and just like Kuzan, Dragon is not only an enemy of the Marines, he's a traitor, having been confirmed to be a Marine himself before defecting and then starting the Revolutionary Army. Let me just say, I cannot wait to see more of his backstory. But lately, we have been seeing his absolute tactical genius at work as he wages a battle of attrition against the Celestial Dragons, basically depriving them of resources, food, and water. Okay, but wait a second. We have already established before that Roger and Whitebeard have had the highest bounties ever, with both being a little bit above 5 billion. So surely he can't be higher than the highest, right? Well, actually, when I went back and looked again at chapter 957, really looked at it really closely, I kind of saw that Brand New says in the translation that Roger and Whitebeard's bounties are the highest in the history of piracy, but Dragon is not a pirate. Instead, he is a force that is directly opposed to the world government and wants to bring the entire system tumbling down. That's like his only goal in the entire series. So thanks to that little detail, I'm gonna give Dragon a bounty that is absolutely off the charts, but still realistic, I think, at 10 billion berries. It is a lot, but I do think it's very reasonable given everything that Dragon represents. But can you believe that I think there's actually a single character with an even higher bounty than that? I mean, to find that though, we are gonna have to go back all the way to the Void Century to talk about the world's first ever pirate, Joy Boy. Joy Boy, of course, being the ultimate enemy of Imu and the entire world government. I mean, honestly, there is a really good chance that Joy Boy never even had a bounty to begin with, since he was around from, well, before the world government. They kind of fought it out who would gain control over the world. But also, come on, I mean, where's the fun in that? This is my video and I can do whatever I want, so I'm gonna give the first ever pirate the first ever bounty, and it is gonna be completely out of this world. Now, this is obviously going to take a lot of speculation. After all, we still don't know that much about Joy Boy, though it's been getting better. We do have some bits and pieces now, and as a pirate, he just can't be over Roger and Whitebeard, right? I think that would be the case if it hadn't been for a special little detail in chapter 1130. You see, after a 100-year hiatus fighting, Dory and Broggy, the co-captains of the Giant Warrior Pirates, made the insane jump from 100 million to 1.2 billion berries each. Part of that was, of course, their participation in the Egghead Island incident, but as Robin points out, inflation in the One Piece world also plays a role here. Now, given that even with 100 years time, that's an absolutely insane rate of inflation, even a tiny bounty like 100 or 1,000 berries back during the Void Century, adjusted for today, would just absolutely eclipse even Roger's and Whitebeard's bounties adjusted for today's berry value, I guess. So hypothetically, if Joy Boy showed up in the current story and got an updated bounty, I'm just gonna say that he'd probably earn a bounty that might be even 20 billion berries high, which is actually an extremely conservative estimate if inflation is just as bad as Dory and Broggy's bounties would suggest it was over the last 800 years. And it's gonna be real, I'm gonna let you guys do the actual inflation calculations in the comments because, you see, my calculator broke. That's right, my calculator broke. Why would I lie about it? Shut up. Now, there's no way that I can do all of that actual math right now. It's very unlikely that we'll actually see a modern day bounty ever for Joy Boy, but some bounties that we will definitely see by the end of the series are those of the Straw Hat Pirates, the final ones after Luffy becomes Pirate King. Because let's be real, there's absolutely no way that Luffy has now achieved his final bounty after beating Kaido. Now, I think he has plenty of room to grow by the end of the series, overtaking even Roger now that he's going head to head with the top brass of the world government. So if you want to know what the Straw Hat's insane bounties at the end of the series probably will be, you can check out that video right here. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Shout out to my Patreons. I did the right side today. Let's go. And otherwise, I will hopefully see you in the next one.